Have you ever wondered why your life seems so empty, even when you try to do everything right? Carl Jung believed that the secret to finding your true purpose lies in your darkest side, the one you prefer to ignore. And what if I told you that? Confronting those internal demons is the key to changing your life. Today, you'll discover how to reveal your purpose by diving into what you fear the most. When we think about the lives of influential and successful people like Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein, and many other historical figures, it's easy to feel displaced. It seems their lives were marked by great achievements, undeniable conquests, and a clear purpose, while ours sometimes appear ordinary and lacking great impact. However, what we often forget is that the meaning of life isn't only measured by grand accomplishments or fame, but by the small daily actions, the internal battles we fight, and the constant effort of self-awareness and growth. Like them, we have the power to build a purposeful path of our own, shaped by the shadows we face, the mistakes we overcome, and the moments when, even with fear, we choose to act. Carl Jung, in many of his works, deeply explored the search for meaning and self-awareness. For him, the purpose of life is not based on what you achieve, but on who you become and the decisions you make. Jung believed that the totality of the human being can be described by the psyche, which encompasses both conscious and unconscious aspects. At the center of our consciousness, everything we know and recognize is the ego, but there is much more beyond the ego that remains hidden. At the core of our unconscious, which represents what is hidden from us, lives our shadow or our dark side. Jung argued that the unconscious holds the key to discovering our true life purpose. After all, the meaning of our existence is not something generic or applicable to everyone, but unique, personalized, and made to measure for each of us. Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, founded his own approach called analytical psychology, often referred to as Jungian philosophy, which sheds light on this journey of self-discovery and integration of our shadows. Carl Jung left an incredible legacy with his notable works, such as The Psychology of the Unconscious, Man and His Symbols, Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, among others. These works guide us on a journey to understand the deepest parts of ourselves. In this video, we will explore how you can reveal the purpose of your life by connecting with your dark side. According to Jung's philosophy, your visions only become clear when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Each of us has a unique purpose and meaning based on who we are and what we desire. But to discover it, you need to truly know yourself. And no matter how many people think they know themselves well, the truth is that this search goes far beyond just knowing your strengths and weaknesses. To truly know yourself, Jung proposed the concept of self-realization, which involves the confrontation between the conscious and unconscious parts of your being. Our dark side or shadow holds desires, emotions, and characteristics we prefer to hide or repress, such as laziness, envy, anger, or even interests we consider childish or inappropriate. As these aspects are hidden in the unconscious, we are not aware of them in our day-to-day life. They have been so ignored that instead of surfacing in our thoughts, they lead us to create masks or personas that we use to be accepted by others. Reconnecting with your shadow requires courage and deep work, which Jung called the shadow work. This means taking time to reflect on your behaviors, feelings, and thoughts. It can be through journaling or even meditation. Ask yourself, why? Did I act that way? Was it authentic? Why yes or why not? What was my initial instinct in a particular situation? How would I feel if I were in the other person's shoes? This type of reflection leads you to true self-awareness, where you can free yourself from old masks and finally awaken to who you truly are, just like you would when trying to understand another person. Jung emphasized that knowing your shadow doesn't mean you should define yourself by it. Identifying hidden traits, such as anger, for example, doesn't mean you are an angry person. The point here is to recognize and accept that these characteristics exist, but without allowing them to define you entirely. When you understand this, the relationship with your hidden sides changes. They stop being a burden and become parts that you accept. Another common way in which the traits of your shadow manifest is through the judgments you make of others. Those behaviors you despise in others often reveal something you fear in yourself. This is what Jung called projection. So, every time you feel anger or irritation towards someone, ask yourself, have I ever acted that way? Is this something that's part of my own shadow? For Jung, those who harshly condemn selfishness, for example, are often repressing their own selfish thoughts. Or those who can't tolerate impatience in others are possibly struggling with the same tendency within themselves. Taking time to reflect on these matters, whether through journaling or taking a pause to think, is a great step in bringing what's hidden in the unconscious into the light of consciousness. This process of self-awareness is essential to seek a fuller life. As Jung said, "I do not aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man." Maybe now, as you explore your unconscious and confront some dark traits, you're wondering, how can this improve my life? It might be that at first you even feel worse. It's difficult to ignore your flaws when they become clear. Jung acknowledged that discovering who you really are can be scary and painful. Many try to repress their own dark sides, thinking that if they never show them, they will disappear. But could it be that the one who controls anger isn't the kindest person? Or the one who overcomes laziness isn't the most productive? Well, not always. Ignoring your dark traits actually strengthens them. They stay hidden, waiting to appear in moments of greatest vulnerability. When you're stressed, tired, or at your limit, those who pretend not to feel anger are often the ones who have the most terrifying outbursts. Those who repress laziness may end up suffering from exhaustion. Ignoring your dark sides doesn't make them disappear. The secret is in recognizing them, accepting that they are part of you, and learning how to manage them. Now that you know your shadow, it's time to use it to your advantage. Think of this: any trait you find, even those that seem negative at first, can be useful tools. Anger, for example, only becomes a problem when it's excessive or out of control. But in situations where you've been hurt or treated unfairly, it can be the strength that helps you react. To protect your boundaries, the key question is, when should you act based on an emotion, and when should you let it pass? When should you resort to your mask or persona, and when should you allow yourself to be who you really are? Reflecting deeply on your emotions, rather than labeling them as good or bad, transforms your life. Emotions like envy, for example, can motivate you to achieve more. Laziness, when used properly, offers you the necessary rest. Impatience, at certain moments, can be the push you needed to act. The secret is in integrating every part of what you discover in your shadow into your being, rather than ignoring or repressing it. Your shadow didn't come to punish you, but to teach you. These hidden and repressed aspects are part of who you are, and by accepting and embracing them, you open yourself to a real transformation process, self-awareness, and the ability to use all your sides, both light and dark, are the path to finding purpose and meaning in your life. When you integrate your shadow, you become more complete, balanced, and authentic. You start to better understand what you want, what you need, and who you really are. Self-development is a constant journey. There will always be something to improve, but this work is what brings the most meaning to life. As Jung said, you are defined by your actions, not your intentions. When you know yourself, you manage your dark traits better and act based on your beliefs. It's not enough to think about your purpose. You need to live it through your actions. This means not just being a reaction to the world, but being an active force within it. Instead of waiting for friendships to appear, go after them. Instead of waiting for a promotion, create a plan and pursue it. Don't wait for your life to acquire meaning. Give it meaning through your actions. Many of us still live reactively, but by taking the initiative, we truly transform who we are. Working on yourself is the first step, but it can't be the only one. It's necessary to act in all areas of your life to create a purposeful existence. After working with your shadow, it's natural to think that now is the time to rest, but it's precisely that comfort that can lead you to a sense of purposelessness. So, how do you break free from stagnation and live more actively? It's simple. Challenge yourself. After exploring and understanding your shadows and growing from what you discovered, you need to take new steps beyond that. Ask yourself frequently, what do I believe in? What are my spiritual or religious beliefs? What are my principles? My values? How do I act in my daily life? What do I want to achieve this year and in the next 5 years? How do I want to impact the world? What do I expect from others? Take time to reflect on these questions, whether by writing or meditating. The answers are clear clues for the actions you must take. For example, let's say you want to become a published author. Many people share this desire, but few actually take the necessary actions. They wait for inspiration or the perfect moment, believing the book will write itself. This is a reactive way of living, where everything depends on external circumstances. On the other hand, someone who is truly committed to being an author writes frequently, on a schedule, whether inspired or not. When they hit a block, they seek advice, do exercises to unlock their creativity, and keep going. They finish their stories not by sheer motivation, but through discipline. Then, proactively, they contact literary agents and publishing professionals. Not everyone finds meaning in career-related goals. Often, personal values are more abstract. Perhaps you want to positively impact the next generations. There are various ways to do that, whether as a parent, teacher, by creating a youth NGO, or even by being a youth counselor or politician. The important thing is to decide how you want to achieve that goal and what actions will be necessary. Always reflect on your values and beliefs and make decisions that align your actions with them. Living reactively is possible, but it rarely gives life meaning. To find purpose, you must act. As Jung said, where your fear is, there lies your task. Often reactive living isn't just the result of laziness or lack of motivation, but of fear. Acting involves risks, and that can be terrifying. If you have an idea for a book, you need to be willing to face the fear of disappointing yourself. With your writing, when you put it on paper, once finished, you must be prepared to face potential rejections if you want to put something into the world. Whether it's a book, a project, or any idea, understand that every action carries some risk. Having the courage to act doesn't mean the absence of fear, but rather facing it. Fear, when ignored, only grows and comes back to dominate you. That's why it must be recognized and confronted head-on. When you face a situation that requires action, but feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself, what can go wrong and how can I deal with it if it happens? Often, fear becomes more manageable with a little preparation. But be careful, preparing is not the same as getting lost in anxious thoughts or dwelling on catastrophic scenarios. Focus on what is really possible, not on the unlikely. Want to publish a book? Prepare for potential rejections from literary agents or even for no one to be interested right away. But also stay open to the possibility of finding someone who believes in you, or even self-publishing. Don't waste energy thinking about endless rejections, someone stealing your idea, or being the target of harsh criticism. These thoughts are rare and most of the time useless. By analyzing your fears and preparing for them, much of the tension dissipates. This doesn't mean the fear will disappear entirely, but you'll realize that what's left is simply taking the next step. Having values means facing your fears, not eliminating them. Everyone who has achieved something great in life did so by facing their greatest insecurities. As Carl Jung said, where your fear is, there is your next task. Discovering what scares you is often the key to finding what will give the most meaning to your life. And speaking of Jung, he also said, a truly happy life is not made only of light, it needs a bit of darkness. Happiness loses its meaning without difficult moments to serve as contrast. Think carefully. Are you getting to know yourself, improving, acting, and taking risks? That doesn't guarantee a perfect life, of course. In fact, the most influential people are those who faced the greatest difficulties because they aren't paralyzed by obstacles and keep fighting. Accepting the bad things in life is crucial to finding meaning and purpose. A life composed only of victories and joys has no depth, because true joy only exists when sadness is also a reality. There's no victory without the possibility of defeat, and no light without shadow. When something bad happens, try to recontextualize it. Mistakes and stumbles are opportunities for growth. Every experience teaches you something about yourself and helps you understand your darker parts. In the end, difficult moments are essential to our self-discovery. In fact, they're part of what makes us whole. No one realizes they need to be more practical until they feel firsthand the weight of not being so. No one discovers how resilient and strong they are without going through situations that really test their limits. Think of it this way. Maybe your book was rejected by all the publishers you sent it to, or maybe you left a secure job to pursue a dream only to watch it all crumble. It's in those moments that we gain perspective and learn to appreciate the good things when they finally happen. You've grown, you've learned something important, and trust me, that gives more meaning to your life. Carl Jung said that the meaning of life isn't in achieving the goals we set. The true meaning lies in acting, in discovering ourselves along the way. Your life doesn't become valuable because you became a renowned author or a successful politician. What truly matters is everything you did to get where you are. And even if you don't reach all your goals, the simple fact that you took control and acted already makes you unique and authentic. That alone carries great weight. Finding the meaning of life is not a process that ends. It's a continuous journey of self-discovery, redefining goals, and taking new actions. There will be highs and lows, moments of victory and bitter defeats, and that's what makes your journey so special. Your collection of attempts, failures, and achievements is yours alone, a reflection of your courage and determination. So always take pride in your attempts, even if the results are not perfect. That's where purpose is born. Value every little victory and be grateful for what goes well. In the end, it doesn't matter how much you've conquered. What matters is continuing to be the best version of yourself. If you've made it this far with me, I have to tell you that you're a rare person. Many people begin this journey of self-knowledge, but few have the courage to face it all the way. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for walking with me through these dark labyrinths that Carl Jung invites us to explore. I know that at many moments it can be uncomfortable. It's like opening an old dusty chest within yourself without knowing exactly what you're going to find. And you chose not to close that chest. You know, this reminds me of a story about an old sage who lived in a cave, isolated from the village where I was born. They said he had all the answers to life's great dilemmas. People went to him seeking healing, wisdom, and peace. But there was something he always said: the answer you seek will never be outside of you. And to find it, you must first face the shadows that prevent you from seeing the light. I remember when I was young, I thought he was crazy until I faced my own shadows. Today, as I share all of this with you, I realize this journey is much easier when we're not alone, when we have courage, but also companionship. And you were that companionship. You listened, you reflected, and maybe even faced something you'd rather leave behind. That, to me, is a demonstration of strength, more than any grand achievement. So, thank you for being part of this path. I hope this is not an end but the beginning of many encounters with yourself, of many internal dialogues and discoveries. And if, at any moment you feel lost, that the shadow has grown too large, remember, we are not here to eliminate the shadows, but to walk with them. They are part of the light we carry. Thank you for existing and for being so brave. We'll meet again on the next journey, because there is much more to discover.